All right, so here is session 2 of lesson 3. We're going to continue using our formulas to find volume. So let's go into that right now. So again, we're looking at two specific formulas here when we're finding volume. One is going to be this first one where we have length times width times height. The other one is base times height. That's what that B stands for. But if you're given um, if you're given one of these formulas and want to figure out the other, just remember that the B in base is actually when you're multiplying the length times the width. So that's where you get that B from. So if you remember that, you should be okay. They're interchangeable. They both find the volume using similar measurements. Okay. So if you're following along with the video, open up your book to page 37, and that's where you're going to be putting in your notes. Okay, so here's the warm up for this one. We have Gareth has a rectangular pencil cup on his desk, and in your book, you'll actually see a picture of that to give you an idea what that'll look like. The cup is 3 inches long, it's 2 inches wide, and it's 5 inches high. So, what's the volume of the pencil cup? So, at this point, you kind of think of which way you want to find the volume of it, and there's other options of doing that, but the next page here, if you turn to page 38, that will give you, that'll give you one of the options here. So one of them is to picture that pencil cup like it's these rectangular prisms, or this rectangular prism with all these different unit cubes stacked up here. And remember that these are 1 inch cubes. And that being said, we know our final answer will be in cubic inches. So you might even want to jot that down to remember that. So you can have all those cubes. That's one way of finding the volume. Count them up or find a layer and multiply the layer, whatever is working best for you. Another option is to picture it just as it is, and then realize it has these three different measurements. It's going to have our length and width down here, which is going to be our base, or it's going to be this height here of 5 inches. Now notice I'm using colors, and iReady does too, to make these things stand out. The blue here is representing your height, and then the red is going to represent your length and width. And that's to find your base, or just multiply them all together and find the answer that way. So that's whatever's going to work best. So let's look at page 39 over here on the right. Have your book open so you can glance back at the pictures on the left and then answer the questions on the right. That should help the most. Okay. Question 1, explain how you can find the volume of the pencil cup using the prism shown in the picture it. The picture is the one with all of the different cubes. So you could do it a couple different ways. You could count all of the cubes. That's certainly a possibility. And not a wrong one either. If that's what you like to do, that's fine. Or um, what I would probably do is find how many are in one layer, and then multiply the layers. So for instance, if you find that there's 6 cubes in one layer, find out how many layers and multiply that number by 6. There you go. There's a couple of techniques there if you're using that first picture, or the ones with all the cubes. But realistically, if you're looking at a rectangular pencil holder on a desk, you're not picturing it as cubes. You'll probably just basically use all of the measurements there. Before I do that, number 2, explain how the area of the base of the prism shown in model it relates to the prism and picture it. Well, what they're asking here, number 2, is how are the picture it picture and the model it picture related? Well, um, you can find the base for both of them. find the base layer. For the picture at 1 with the cubes, you can literally see the base layer. For the one that's the model it, you can just multiply your 2 times 3 to get your base layer. So it's one's very visual, you can see it. The other one is just more, you know that those measurements will equal that. So that's what they're talking about in that one. Number 3, explain how you can use a prism and model it to find the volume of the pencil cup. Well, that's pretty simple. You can multiply the measurements. And then you probably already guessed that the next question is going to be like, well, how do you multiply them? Well, let's tell them. So that's 3. Number 4, use a volume formula shown and model it to write 2 different multiplication equations you can use to find the volume of the pencil cup. Well, that's pretty simple. Not a ton of room for number 4, so I understand you might have to write really small, but I'm going to split it up into 2 sides. And on the left, I'm going to go volume equals length times width times height. Now remember, we multiply all the sides for volume, we don't add them. So if you're adding your sides and your volume answer looks a little weird, it's because you probably added and didn't multiply them. So volume, multiply. Okay, so let's do it like this. So that would mean if we're using this first equation, we would have 3 times 2, and then our height is 5. But again, I want to point out, it doesn't matter. When you're doing volume and you have to multiply 3 numbers, it's just like adding 3 numbers. The order does not matter at all. So whatever measurement here on that picture and model it you think is the width or whatever is the length, that works because no matter what order, like if this was, for example, like 5 times 3 times 2, you're going to get the same answer for that one. So maybe write a note somewhere on this page. Order does not matter. Don't even worry about it. And this one, the base. When they talk about base, they mean the very bottom. So in this case, this would be a little different. This would be your 3 times 2. And height, very obviously, is the 5. But again, order really won't matter for this one either. I use parentheses here just to show you where I'm getting my base numbers from. So there's that. So let's solve it. I know you don't have much room there. So over here, let's do, I'm feeling adventurous. I'll start with the second one. Do 5 times 3, which is 15. And 15 times 2, we're doubling 15, that's 30. 3 times 2 is 6. And 6 times 5 is 30. Well, look at that. Both equations gave us the same answer. Not bad. And lastly, explain how you can use the dimensions of a rectangular prism to find the volume. I think we pretty much already showed that in the previous one. So this is just breaking down understanding. Just use those numbers to find your volume. And number 6 there, this next one would be a class discussion. Which one did you like best? You can let me know, or just know which one you like and then stick with that plan. All right, turn the page. You're going to go on page 40. Don't worry, I know the lesson's long, but the homework is not. Okay, let's see if we know what we're doing here. What is the volume of a rectangular jewelry box, that beautiful jewelry box with the pearls coming out of it? Looks like a pirate stole it. Has a length of 12 centimeters, a width of 7 centimeters, and a height of 5 centimeters. Here's a pro tip for word problems. Circle the stuff you need to find the answers. So I would circle this. I do a width of 7 centimeters and a height of 5 centimeters. I'm a visual learner. My brain kind of frizzles out when I see so many words and I don't know how to do a word problem. So if I circle things that I know are important, I know I can take the circled things and find my answer. So let's do this. Um, volume equals length times width times height. It says length right here. That is 12. It says the width right here. That's 7. And the height right there is 5. Okay, so we've got this. I know that 7 times 12 is 84. Again, if you have a calculator handy, by all means, and 84 times 5. And that would give us 420. And what should our, this should be centimeter, cubic centimeters, excuse me. Yep, those should be your units. So there's the answer for that one. So again, I'm cool with you using a calculator. Go right ahead. On your desk when you're here at school, you'll have a multiplication table taped to your desk too, so you can use that as well. So use tools to do math. I'm very liberal when it comes to that. Next question. We're almost done, as you can see. How much space is taken up by a book with that is 12 inches long? Look at me already circling things. 10 inches wide and 1 inch tall. Well, I love multiplying by ones. So let's go for it. Let's volume equals length times width times height. Of course, you can use base times height. You can go right ahead. In fact, I'll demonstrate that for you base truthers out there. We have 12 times 10 times 1. Multiplying by tens is great because we just put the number here and then add that 0. So it's 120. Multiplying by ones is even better. And that gives us 120. We've got inches. So that's going to be cubic inches. Let's try this one. Our base is going to be the length times the width. So our base is 120 and our height is 1. And that will also be 120 cubic inches. How about that? Last one. Again, the homework's really short, so we got this. All right, rectangular prism has a volume. Oop, how much space is taken? Oh, that shouldn't be there. Oop. Sorry, I can't edit that out. Rectangular prism has a volume of 100 cubic centimeters, so we're given the volume. All right, so we know instead of this is going to work a little tricky. It already gives the volume. We know that it's 100. We just have to figure out some of the other stuff here. One of the dimensions is 5 meters. So it's 5 times, I don't know, something. 5 times what will give you 100? And some of you are screaming into the air saying, Mr. Centerwall, it's 20. So that's great. So 5 times 20. So this question's which pairs of measurements could be the other two dimensions? So let's do this the easy way. So we have a 20. So these 20 and 1, those equal 20. So that's 1 right away. A 10 and a 5 will give us 50. Nope. A 10 and a 10 will give us 100. Nope, because we're looking to find something that's a 20, and that's not 20. 4 times 5. Well, look at that. That's a 20. And 20 times 20, that equals 400. We don't want that. Okay, so this is going to be 2 answers. I really don't like questions that have multiple choice and more than one of the answers is correct. So anything that I make for you will not have a question like that. So don't worry, but this is just good practice. And as one student pointed out to me before, this is not unlike something you'll learn or already have some background in algebra, where we kind of find a missing number to figure out an answer. So getting a little preview of that, a little more practice. All right, your homework. There's a Google form attached. It's for Unit 1, Lesson 3, Session 2. There's going to be 5 word problems, and those are all multiple choice. So just pick the right answers and click Submit, and you are done. And as always, you're welcome to ask me any questions if you have them.